solid people, that we need to give them all the support that we can. But, if we go a little bit deeper on this, 20 years ago, when I started this journey, I learned very early on, through various means I talk about in a book, it's at the printers at the moment, that there was a vibrational change coming. The title of the first book I wrote after I had my experiences 20 years ago was called Truth Vibrations, because that's what I call these vibrations. This energetic change that is coming. And even though it's coming, it's getting more powerful all the time. It's here. And what I was told, what I understood at that time, was that these truth vibrations were going to do two things. One, they were going to break up the density of people. And in effect, they were going to open their minds, and they were going to start to awaken to a much bigger understanding, both not of the world, but also of themselves and who they are and what they really are, as opposed to what they see in the mirror. And the other thing that these truth vibrations were going to do, I was told then, is to bring to the surface all that's remained hidden. Now, 20 years ago, there was no evidence or sign of this whatsoever. But look now, Henrik. Look around the world now. There is an awakening going on. People are now in very, very large and increasingly large numbers looking at the world and themselves in a completely different light. And what has happened as this 20 years has unfolded? All that's remained hidden is coming to the surface. And that's really, really bad news for these people, because there is an energetic flow now, which they are trying to suppress, but they can't. They can't do it. And in the next few years, revelations of extraordinary kinds, both in relations to physics, the nature of reality, and what these people have been doing, are going to come to light more and more and more. And I've understood something in the last few years, which is so bloody obvious to me now. This Orwellian attempt to put the lid on humanity with the microchips to suppress us externally through the microchip, with the attempts to suppress freedom of speech, to control centrally all areas of life, to impose this Orwellian state with greater surveillance all the time. This is not actually primarily to gain more power. It's to hold on to the power they've had all along covertly, because they know that this vibrational change is coming, and they are desperately trying to mitigate its effects. And this is why the energetic change is happening and getting more powerful every day, exactly at the time that the suppression of human awareness and the suppression of human freedom, of thought, of movement, of freedom of speech, are all being attacked at the same time. They're trying to put the lid on the truth vibrations. And, listen to me, guys. Listen, you're wasting your time, okay? It's just a matter of when your control system comes down and all your pedophile and satanic rings come to the surface more and more blatantly, and the characters involved that have been smiling at the camera, "Oh, he's such a nice man," get exposed for what they really are. This is coming. It's happening. And the Hollie Greig case is a very, very powerful expression of it. Or we're in for some surprises and some shocks, but nothing like as many as those running the control system are in for.
That's a good point. And so you bring up the point here that you've been involved in about 20 years now in this kinds of research, and maybe we can, I guess, end a little bit on this point as well, David, in terms of what you think if you project ahead a little bit in 20 years. Are you positive or are you negative? Just as you say, obviously the fact is that for whatever reason, something is changing, and in one instance it feels like we're getting that for free. We're surfing an energy wave here, which is a good thing. At the same time, that doesn't mean that the work has to be done either. It has to be, as you pointed out, and as you've been doing now for 20 years, doing the groundwork and laying the infrastructure, as it were, for these things to fall into place and to connect the dots and so forth. But if we project about 20 years into the future, do you think we'll still be in a situation where everything is kind of slowly falling apart even more further as it is now, or have a alternative system, if we can put it that way, come into place, or maybe even the lack of a system at that point? What do you think, David?
20 years from now, control system gone. In the history books. Do you remember when it was like this and they thought they were going to do this? They didn't, did they? Because, you see, there are some people that think that the control system is all powerful, and those running it are all powerful, and those behind it who are of a non-human type are all powerful. No, they're not.
Yep.
They're stupid. They're idiots. I mean, and they're frightened idiots as well, because anyone that wants to control to the scale that they want to control is suffering from massive extreme insecurity. And these people are. They're frightened. That's why when you run at them, like the Scottish bloody pedophile Satanic ring, I mean, they scatter. They don't know what to do. Oh, my God, I want me mum. Yeah. You know, and so they're not as powerful as they think they are, yeah. And they're not as powerful as so many people think they are. How they control humanity is this. They themselves are in a box, quite a small one, actually, because of their state of being. I want to control and all the rest of it. You're in a very small vibrational box of awareness, consciousness when you're in that mode. Really conscious people don't want to control anybody. So how have they controlled humanity? By putting humanity in a smaller box than they're in. And the bit in their bigger box that humanity doesn't have is an understanding of how reality works and how we interact with it, and quite a bit of technological know-how that allows manipulation to go on with technology that the population in general thinks is impossible. It's not impossible. It exists. It's just that you don't see it in the public arena. But when the humanity opens to the true magnitude of who we are, and that means breaking out of the programming, which is keeping us from that understanding and that potential, then we are in a bigger box than the control system's in. And eventually, if you open your mind to consciousness to the extent that I'm talking about, you're not in a box at all. And then the control system comes down, because the control system is actually... I go into it in the new book, and it's 700 pages long nearly, so you can see that there are a lot of dots to connect before you can really put this together. But in the simplest terms, it's a construct. It's like someone's hacked in to the internet. It's like China, where people in China can't access through their computer system vast chunks of the internet that the rest of the world can, because they've been firewalled off. Humanity's been systematically firewalled off, and it's been done vibrationally and digitally. And when that is broken, and it's going to be broken, are you listening, control system? It is going to be broken. It's going to be like Sleeping Beauty waking up, because people in large, vast numbers are going to go, what's just happened? Where am I? What's gone on? What's been happening? Because the hack on the human collective mind is going to be unpicked. The lock's going to be unpicked. And we're going to go for a while as if the control system is moving on and it's unstoppable. However extreme it gets in the next few years, it ain't going to prevail. And at the same time, this process is going to go on of unpicking this lock, and it's not to do with protesting in the streets and all that stuff. This is just the way that it plays out. It's actually about very, very, very deep understanding of the true, not illusory, the true physics of what holds this reality and this hack together. And it's going to come down, and our children and grandchildren are not going to live in an Orwellian state. Quite the opposite. It's going to seem like that for a few years, but not too many years, by the way. But then it's going to become very clear that the system's coming down. And you rightly point out, Henrik, that it's not just about, that David Icke says it's all coming down, so I'm going down the pub. No. These truth vibrations are a level of consciousness, a level of awareness, a greater level of awareness than we've had access to up to this point. But that awareness has to play out in this holographic world, this so-called physical world. It has to impact upon